Lights, camera, action.
Welcome to episode 106 of the Grab and Ash podcast, with returning special guests back from Knoxville for a second paid episode. Paid in bourbon this time, not cigar, because it's the same cigar. Relighting the same cigar from weeks earlier. Here he is, Dylan. Everybody,
You know,
I'm gonna play the clapping sound effect now.
I know bigger's not always better, but you might need a little bit bigger of a flame.
It's just out of juice.
Hold on.
Okay, here, both of you smell this real quick, and then pull my finger. What are you doing?
Spunky.
It's out of juice.
Is it? It's not.
It's also turned down, but it's also out of
For
juice.
what?
Yeah. What's it smell like? Michael, smell this.
Kentucky
Oh, we're getting the little stogies.
fire cured. It's spunky.
Isn't that interesting? I'm just gonna cut it with this because
Yes.
I need.
That's
So,
not a punch.
so, time
if
out.
you punch this, you'd lose
Time
the
out.
cigar.
Time out. Before you cut it, may I? So, Nubby,
I don't need to compensate. Okay.
Nubby, may I?
I'm so
Nubby.
secure. Okay. I'm so secure.
He doesn't drive a lifted truck. There's a reason.
Like drive.
That's
a
true.
Unlifted
You don't have to compensate. Have you guys seen?
You're driving
There's a
truck, though.
video. I don't know if it's on YouTube
We
or
just lost half
Facebook.
of your mix.
What? Because I don't drive a lifted truck, or because
No,
we're
'cause
talking
we said
about
that.
wee-wees?
No, there's a video on YouTube. I don't know if it's.
Let me see your cigar. Let me see you want to cut it. Just don't have a cutter out here. Okay, so just to fill everybody in, we are smoking the Kentucky Fire Miniature.
I'm still on Romeo E. Juliet.
So it has a really
It's
tight
funny.
draw when you start.
I think I wore the exact same clothes last time I came in.
That
didn't I?
is,
And you
actually.
guys are wearing the same.
Same.
thing.
Same. Yeah.
Wow.
What are the
Decided to go
odds?
and throw me
I
under
know.
the bus for being cheap about my guests. I'm not the finance guy here.
Well, the good thing is editing, right? You can clip all this out.
Hey, can you Photoshop me a new outfit?
I can give you an animated character that has a different outfit from your
Thank you.
usual animated character.
Can you make
So-
that animated character buff muscles? Just
Butt
shredded.
muscles?
So there's
buff
butt muscles.
Buff muscles.
I heard butt.
Ash muscles.
Ash muscles.
If you could make my arms the size of my gluteus maximus, that would be amazing.
No, but just to keep the fat friends joke alive, there's a cookie.
Ouch.
What?
There's an animated
You don't
character.
remember this?
That's
I remember this clearly.
No,
I
there's
thought
an
we
anime-
moved past it. What's
there's
wrong with you?
There's an animated character that's a cookie. So you.
Just keep digging that hole one spoonful at a time like your buddy.
This is gonna be our last guest.
Just scrape
Dylan.
it.
Dylan's
Look,
not
I've
gonna
got-
show up here again.
I've got little tiny arms.
So, we have to tell this story now. So, the three of us went on vacation this past summer?
Just the three of us. Yeah, last summer.
With our wives and
pre-quarantine
girlfriends.
summer,
Well, it was like right at the beginning of quarantine, I guess. We all went on vacation together to the beach, and this ash hole, we're getting into the water, and he says, "You know what I love about going on vacation with my fat
I
friends?"
did not say that.
You said that verbatim, sir.
He said that word for word. He said, "You know what I love about going on vacation with fat friends?" And we were like, "How?"
No, I said it in a much more roundabout way. I said, you know what's really boring is going on vacation with skinny people.
Oh, that's right. I do have to concede this point. He was like, "I hate going on vacation with skinny people.
Because
I'm so happy
they're
I'm
all-
here with you
they're
guys."
all about- yeah,
That's
they're all-
true. That's exactly
Those
what he
skinny
said.
people, they're all about health food and like, you guys are great. You want to eat pizza and like drink all the time,
Yeah.
and you're like, are you calling me fat? I'm like, I did not say that. I'm just saying.
I implied it.
I'm
I didn't
just-
say it.
I'm just
I
saying you guys
implied
are
it.
much more fun. Take the compliment, okay?
He did. That's what he said.
And then the whole time they're like, so
But-
since we're the
but-
fat people here,
But in all honesty,
you can't say but Ash.
Ash.
Ash. In all honesty, it doesn't work. So, it's the original quote is, I love having fat friends because they do all the fun stuff with me. That's the original quote.
Well, it would have helped if I was a fat person like Gabriel Iglesias who made the joke. Who's-
Fat bottom girls, you make the rockin' world.
Was
go
it Gabriel
round.
Iglesias who
I think
coined
it
it?
was. I think so.
That sounds like him.
Yeah, I'm mildly offended. Not really.
I wouldn't be. Anybody over 2% body fat index is fatter than Alex.
That's
so.
true.
It's 4.5. It was 2% in high
So
school.
I was just guessing.
Okay. No, my fitness teacher said you really need to focus on eating more fat-heavy foods because your body fat percentage is at a level that's dangerous to where like your brain will
So
start
is mine, but
having issues.
opposite end.
Wow.
Well, we know your brain's having issues. We got that.
When you thought it was a compliment when you said, "I much prefer going on vacation with you guys than my skinny friends."
It wasn't cool.
That was your PE coach coming into play here, being like, "You should have had more avocados."
No. So then I proceed to track my fitness for the next week, and he goes, "Why did you eat ice cream every night of the week?" I'm like, "'Cause it's really high in fat, idiot."
It's like,
And he's like, "That's really bad for you to eat that much ice cream." I'm like, "It's not affecting me, clearly." He's like, "It's still bad for you, though."
You need to do more nuts.
would you like to try some roasted nuts?
That's an invitation.
Well, his friends who are skinny eat a lot of ash when their cigar gets short and they flip it around the wrong way.
Oh, that was so funny.
Oh, gross.
The guy who does the lick thing, who started that, like licking the cigar, he got such a small, like, I mean, it was like the width of your finger. And so he literally just like, and then just like, and I was like, did you just, and he's like, yeah.
Ugh. Okay, so speaking of fun ways to smoke your cigar that may or may not be connoisseur level of intelligence, have you ever tried dipping your cigar?
In whiskey?
Mhm.
I've not.
You've not.
That is the new thing. I like that way
The
better.
whole thing?
No.
Just the tip.
Just the tip. That's
You're-
my motto, man. No, so you take the end that's
Is that why
not...
you don't have kids? I mean,
So you take the non-ashy end and you just wet it a little bit in your whiskey, your favorite bourbon or whiskey, and it changes the flavor of your smoke
let's try
profile.
it.
Doing it today.
Well, I don't usually like the end of my cigar being all wet, which is why I don't slobber on it.
Poor Madison.
But I'm like choke, like sucking whiskey.
I think this would work better on like a wider cigar. I'm not
True.
sure.
You're not tasting this, no.
No, I'm glad that wasn't an offer because I clearly denied it.
No, I was saying like a cigar like this.
Yes.
That is true.
Yeah, because this one's just too.
I'm gonna have
Not
to
the
cut
same.
this off again. It is too tight. Yeah.
So, it's just something I had picked up that, I don't remember who taught me that, but basically if you
heard of
dip
it.
the end of your cigar, you get a little, you get a little bit of the whiskey flavor
Have you heard
with the flavor of the cigar.
of doing the opposite of that and getting a lot of smoke in your mouth and blowing it into your cup and holding it
Yes.
onto the whiskey for like
Smoke-infused
a full
whiskey.
minute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff's good too. There's also a lot of tutorials and instructions online to make like bacon infused whiskeys, where you take your favorite whiskey. We're in Tennessee, so you have to say Jack Daniels.
Yeah.
But you take your favorite whiskey and
Well, now there's like Belmead Reserve and stuff. That's good.
you pour it into a mason jar or something with some cooked bacon. You don't want it to be too crispy or anything because you want it to still be a little chewy. It's got
Yeah.
a little bit more flavor still left in the bacon. But you put that in the jar with it and you let it sit for a day or a week. And then the bacon, the fat from the bacon will congeal in the whiskey and you
Weird.
strain it. And it's really interesting flavor on your whiskey. You can make some cool, you talk about like whiskey sours. You like whiskey sours, right?
Yeah.
If you use the bacon-infused whiskey with the egg white to make a true whiskey sour, right? And then you substitute, instead of your normal sugar, like simple syrup, you substitute that for like
Hold
maple
on.
syrup.
Delta.
Still Southwest, but
I mean, still Southwest. That's what I meant.
so
That's
you
interesting.
take your bacon-infused whiskey with
I
your
can't
egg.
even give it to you, hold it to you, like with the. You know how like when you hand somebody a knife, you hand it with holding the blade.
Right.
You can't even.
The blade's too
I love
small.
this knife.
Can't.
I'm telling you, I've got to become famous for smoking the nubs by having everything be nubby. I might have
Your
to
whole-
have.
so here's
my
here's
weenus.
one of your
Everything.
Hold
my
on. Here's
weenus
the
might need to be shortened just to conform to the brand
here's
because it's
here's
quite
one
large.
of the perks of
If-
you
if
being
you want
the
to
nub
know.
guy. Is
Nub
No,
guy.
no,
the-
not today. Not
you-
today.
Let's see if I can get this off.
is
Go ahead,
that
continue.
you don't
This
you
struggle
don't-
bus moment
you
was
don't
brought
have-
to you by S-Wing. maker of fine accents.
Nubby?
Not
Would
today.
you like to nub your weenus, sir?
Whoa. All right. So, ow. Anyways, you
Ow.
you when you have only nubs, you get twice as many cigars in your humidor because you can.
Is this some innuendo? You get twice as many women.
No, there's no innuendo. It's just like physical space in your humidor. You
I
get to save
agree.
money on humidors.
I've only got 70 cigars now. I need a couple more in there.
You could double your inventory of
Oh my
cigars if you only had nubs.
Whoa, that went flying.
That did go flying.
All right, so let me finish my thought for cocktail hour on the cigar podcast. All right, Burn and Ash.
Thanks.
What is it? Oh, I keep forgetting it.
Grab an ash.
I keep wanting to say bust an ash or
Slap an ash.
slap an ash. So cocktail hour on the Grab an Ash podcast. If you want to try something new with your cocktails, whiskey sours, classic cocktail. You
Yep.
got your sour component and your sugar and your whiskey, right? And sometimes bitters and things like that.
Sure.
So if you use bacon-infused whiskey like I was describing, where you put the bacon fat in there and then you strain it through like a cheesecloth or something to get all that out, use that for your whiskey base. Then you use your egg whites like normal to make your froth of the whiskey sour.
Yep.
But instead of using simple syrup, you use maple syrup. It's a breakfast sour.
Interesting. That's bizarre.
It's very different, very unique cocktail.
Yeah.
But,
We'll have to
Pretty
try it
interesting.
when we
Pretty
start
interesting.
the Grabbing Whiskey podcast.
we got to come up with something better than that.
Grabbing Weenus.
I was trying to make a play on words with hops or rye. Rye on time.
We don't have to have a separate podcast for everything that we,
No, it's just cocktail
we
hour.
consume.
It's
I'm
cocktail
I'm
hour.
about to have a third TikTok now. Because I've got my main one that I do my pool stuff on. Then I've got my second one that I do the podcast on. And now I'm going to have a third one so we can market against each other. Here's a small segment, a new segment.
Okay, this
so
is a good one.
Me and Foster have started a
Competition. I love it.
because we both have these very different views of the world. Of I'm producing for the 80%, he's producing for the 20%.
That's right.
And I'm just like, why not make
80-20.
100 pieces of content a week
Mm-hmm.
and market to everyone all the time? Provide them genuine value. Give them a reason to buy your product.
And I'll spend a week producing one piece of content.
No, you'd have to produce 20 pieces of content to his 80.
Okay, well, in this world, it's even harsher. He's producing one piece of content every 3 months. I'm producing, I don't know, 100.
99.
I'm producing 200 every 3 months or something. I don't want to say I'm going to do more than 2 a day.
So really, he is the reserve real to your Cubano.
I don't know, I guess.
Right.
So, the competition is we each have to come up with an info product, a 20-page PDF that provides more than $1 of value to our consumers. And we have to sell this $1 product that will hopefully people will buy it because it's worth more than $1.
You get 20 pages
20 pages,
of whatever.
a 20-page PDF slideshow that's just like, here's how we just chose marketing. So here's how you market, and here's how you make money for your business marketing. We're both going to produce ours based on our own worldview. We're both going to market it based on our own worldview.
Putting
and-
it into practice.
And most sales, I guess, wins.
Yeah, and at the very end,
And we have
it's your- it's your
$100 that
net.
can be spent on it,
Yeah, so you get $100 to spend towards paid advertising,
or just making it.
and I'm gonna add a caveat to this because I don't
Okay.
think we've really talked about
We've-
this
not much.
bit right here. Hold on.
Pause for station identification. YouTube.
It's an empty plane. There's nobody on that.
It's literally autopilot, guys.
It's
That's
still- it's
that's
still
Tesla.
Southwest
That's a
Delta.
Tesla.
No, they're
order.
just flying them over, so you're still thinking about air travel in your mind. You're like,
That's
people are
it's
flying.
content marketing right there,
They're,
guys.
they're flying it
They-
really
This-
low
This
forever.
podcast brought to you by Delta Southwest.
Delta Southwest Airlines.
So
That airline company, we didn't want to throw anybody under the bus, so we made one up.
South Delta.
okay, so there is
Caveat.
it's a 6-month deadline, right?
Yeah.
Okay, 6-month deadline from what?
Today. Yeah.
Okay, today,
Something-
and you get a 6-month.
Today?
Yeah, and so you get $100 as capital, but you can reinvest all of your money from sales.
all of your dollars.
all of your dollars that you make from sales back into advertising if you so choose 2,
Yep.
net wins.
So whoever ends up with the most money at the end, not number of sales,
So what you're saying is the scoreboard
Is
money.
and
money.
the scoreboard essentially starts at 100 because you have $100 in the bank,
Right.
and you
If you
can
come
make.
back with less than 100, you really suck.
If you- yeah.
If you come back with less than 100,
So if you want to spend your 100, then spend the 20 on the last 20 sales you got to market more, you
then
can.
you literally have 0, and at the end of 6 months, that's...
Why do we have to stop?
I was just kidding.
You do have to stop
It was the
because
running
it's,
joke.
it ruins the audio.
No, it doesn't.
As I like to say, let the viewers suffer. Let their ears suffer.
Well, you did bring me on for a second time, so that is obviously
The
your
viewers
MO.
are suffering, but they're gonna love you for the pizza parties.
The pizza parties.
Ouch, man.
Yikes.
Dig,
And they'll
bro.
hate me for my veganism.
You know,
Yeah.
at some point
Okay.
you're gonna hit center Earth.
He is officially a vegan because you're not a vegan until you start talking about it. Then you're really truly a vegan. It's kind of like CrossFit. Are you really CrossFit?
You're not
if
really
you don't, if you don't talk about it.
Mary Chrysler.
I saw that one video that was like, how do you know if somebody's vegan? Because they won't shut up about it. How do you know if somebody's faking vegan? Because they never bring it up.
Yeah. That's
Oh
true.
man, this ash just falls.
I know.
Drop
like,
that ash.
with a lot of
It's
velocity.
just-
So would you say
Whoa.
these cigars are good? Little Kentucky fired miniatures. These are called the Muat.
Bless you.
I say they're nothing special. They're cigars. They're fine. They're tiny. It's a quick smoke. Like we're halfway done with ours, and you're still going.
I'm over halfway.
Yeah, I guess I didn't realize how quickly they'd go.
They're very dry,
They just went quick.
and they're meant to be dry.
So I'll tell on myself a little bit here. I don't know if you guys have the same problem, but if you get a really thick and a really long cigar,
Yep.
you start getting a little green by the end of it.
Like
Mhm.
halfway through, you're like, oh, I feel something, and you get to like the last third, and you're like, I'm not sure I'm gonna finish it.
Yep.
So if you start feeling that way, and you put some sugar, maple syrup, or honey under your tongue,
I'll go grab the
it
honey.
will balance
I'll go
your
get
blood
you
sugar.
Really?
Yes,
So
sir.
the feeling of 6
This-
to start a temporary new segment after the plane.
This is the paid content that people are here for.
This is the paid content. This is why you subscribe to Grab and Ash Premium, not just for
Okay,
the calendar.
now we're starting to sound like Grab an Ash Premium.
Grab and Ash Premium. Don't just sign up for the calendar.
That's definitely the rated R.
That's somebody else's podcast. Anyway, so if you're smoking a large cigar like Dylan is here, and you're feeling a little green halfway,
I'd prefer to use my stage name,
2/3, which is
Dylan, with an I.
not chandelier.
With an I.
Do you want to go with the stripper name to be in the? We call
Honey.
him Magic
Well,
Mike.
so if he brings me out honey, my stage name will be Honey. If he brings out maple syrup, it'll be Maple.
All right, sounds good. Well, we call him Magic Mike.
Magic Mick. It's like his cousin.
Magic Mickle.
Magic Mickey.
Magic Dick.
No, that's what his
Michael,
girlfriend calls him.
you know how we call you Magic Mike? We were just wondering, would it be okay because like Magic Mike's already taken, so you're like Magic Mike's cousin, Magic Dick.
Well, no, sorry. So I said Magic Mick. And then he took that a step further.
Okay, so choose your poison. I've got a pinch of sugar in here or a little bit of honey.
Okay.
We can't call
Wait,
you
hang on.
sugar.
I need you to pick one for me. Based on something that just happened, I need you to pick one for me. Honey or sugar?
For the effect, he doesn't care.
Yeah, I have no preference based on just.
Just go with a pinch of sugar.
All right, I'm sugar.
Stage name is now
My
Sugar.
stage name is now Sugar.
He was like, "Are you sure you want to
So
use my real
I said, if he comes out with honey, my stage. So I said he referred to me as Dylan,
Okay.
and I said I'd prefer you referred to me as my stage name. And he said, which is, and I said Dylan, but spelled with an I. And he said, are you sure you don't want to choose something like
Honey or sugar?
Well, no, he
like
said
Magic
something like
Mike or
he said something like stripper, like chandelier.
oh yeah,
Shit.
it's like you want to
And
go
I
in
said-
the spirit of the ash and go chandelier,
And I said,
tangerine.
well, I'll tell you what. Whatever he comes out with, if it's honey, my stage name will be Honey, and if it's like maple syrup, it'll be Maple. And you came out with honey and sugar, so I'm now Sugar.
Dun, dun, dun,
So yeah, just take a little
dun,
pinch of
dun.
sugar,
All right.
put it underneath your tongue, and just let it soak in.
Just let it soak for like 20 seconds, and then you're done. And that will
Thank you.
instantly, because if you're feeling green, that's just your blood sugar being out of balance from the nicotine kind of affecting you. And it
Interesting.
just balances it enough for usually
Pass
you'll
me
go,
the lighter.
if you're feeling any more than a little sick, it won't help. But if you're just a little bit
Yeah,
sick,
just a little bit right now.
then it will like instantly balance you out, and usually you'll just start feeling good pretty quick.
So when you're doing this with your friends, you don't want to seem like a biatch who gets green from a cigar.
Just bring
Just
a,
go into the kitchen real quick and
Yeah.
say you need a snack.
or bring a packet of sugar.
Interesting.
Might be easier to relight.
That
if
makes
you
sense
dump
to
the
why.
ash.
Huh?
You might
Well, I've
dump-
tried. And
oh.
There it goes. See, I've tried before. It always seems to happen more when I'm drinking whiskey rather than bourbon or like an old fashioned or a cocktail,
Yes.
and that makes sense because there's
There's a lot of sugar in the
there's
cocktails.
a little bit more sweetness to bourbon because it's got higher corn content, right?
Mm-hmm.
But with a cocktail, you truly have sugar in there, and yeah, that makes a lot of
Is
sense.
there more rye in whiskey? Is that what it is?
Not necessarily. Depends on the mash. Bourbon is just high corn content because it's sweeter. That's why bourbon's always sweeter than its whiskey counterpart.
I just got to sit down with a distiller last week.
Really?
And didn't film it because it may not be licensed. But we sat there and made some mash. It was fun. And then he threw it in the barrel and started it fermenting. And I'm going to go back next week and put it through the distillery process and put it in a barrel.
It's good.
Yeah. Wait, no. Next week's Christmas. Bummer. Well,
Last week was Christmas.
I'll go back. Last week was Christmas, so I guess I'll go back and do that.
This is a new podcast.
What a genius. You're way on top of it, and we don't even know what we're doing.
Staying true.
You've been in a daze, man. You need to stop drinking that bootlegged mash.
It's okay stuff. It's always above 100 proof. And it's heavy.
That's really interesting.
So,
Maybe it's a placebo effect, but I do feel a little bit better.
well, you're also
Maybe it's a
still
placebo.
smoking. But
Okay, so I've done it 2 or 3 times, and every time I've gone from like, "Oh, I don't feel great, to like, I'm instantly better. And maybe it's placebo every time, but it's pretty instant.
For me, it definitely was not placebo. I mean, it went from like I didn't believe him at all, so I didn't think it would work, to wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
So,
Interesting.
to me, it wasn't placebo. I know that.
I did it
Try
once.
honey. If that didn't, if the sugar didn't work, try.
That's what I'm saying. It's like
It did
I feel
work.
better, but I'm curious because the mind is very, very powerful.
It is powerful, but if you
Did
like
Did you
to try
believe
honey
it
as
would
well.
work?
I did. I trust you,
Oh, okay.
even though you call me fat.
I don't call you
Now,
fat. I just say that you
in
would
full honesty,
insinuate.
in full honesty, I actually use simple syrup.
Yeah.
So when I did it, I just took a little bit of simple syrup.
Some would say that that's just sugar and water.
All would say it's sugar and
Oh,
water.
is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're a cigar podcast.
It's like saying, you can try some maple syrup. Some would say that's just tree sap.
Well, some would say it's hard to get out of trees, all right?
That's also true. We're just making. I'm just going to start saying like blatantly true statements.
All right,
like
Mr.
some would say that we're in the state of Tennessee right now.
Some would say that.
Only
Some would
though.
say-
only 20%.
Only 20%.
Okay.
Only the intelligent.
And the 80 would say we're in a state of mind.
Are we an elitist podcast? You fascist.
Well, who smokes cigars?
I'm right wing, so clearly I'm fascist. That's literally the definition.
now we're not getting. Now you will start losing viewers if you start getting political.
For real. That's the one time I quit watching Linus
No, we're
Tech
gonna get
Tips.
the right viewers.
I quit watching Linus Tech Tips the time that he was like, man, Trump's a real idiot. I was like, I don't even care who Trump is, but because you're being
Is
so...
that why you stopped? Because I feel like you have.
No, it was like 4 years ago that he said that. He was like,
Oh.
Trump is stupid. Then the next video, he was like, so I mentioned politics, and everyone on the left and the right went ballistic on me. So I'm going to stick to computer parts. I'm like, good choice. I don't care about Trump, but I'm annoyed that you're talking about politics on an
Did you
electronics
comment
podcast.
on his video about it?
No.
No.
no, because
I don't rage.
Most people don't comment
No,
online.
I
Well,
don't-
most people don't type at 85 words a minute, so
I type it like 35 on a...
I
on a
don't
good
measure
day.
how fast I type because I don't really need to know that.
This is okay. So this sums up all of us. He measures it and it's insane. I measure it and it's low, so I use voice typing instead.
I don't give
and you
a
don't measure.
fuck. Keisha.
Well, then now we're gonna have to come up with a soundboard censor button. And it's gonna be like when you
don't give
swear. No, it's gonna say Ash. It'll be
I
me
don't
like.
give a ass.
It'll be me saying Ash over top of you swearing.
But it's got to be in the most monotone way. Like,
It is.
Ash.
It's just like one of those like really low
Ash.
bit rate sound quality. Like it's
like-
like sounds like a phone. Like,
Ash.
like almost like it's off a radio.
Can you name that movie?
From what quote?
I don't give a.
No.
Oh, really?
No.
It's a great movie.
Star Wars.
It's
No. You just lost
Hold on. Is there
two.
an alien named Keisha in there?
no. It's one of those like it's one of those films that's like low. If we're being honest, it's low
Is
cinematic
it
quality.
Medea 2?
No, it's haunted house. It's a haunted house. It's one of those parody spoofs
Oh,
of
okay.
like Paranormal Activity.
Oh, okay.
That's a great line from it. I think if I'm not no, I'm not gonna say that because I don't know. I'm not confident in that. It's a hilarious moment.
Okay, well, since we're paying you for a second podcast and we got to go soon, why don't we talk about one of your specialties?
Oh, no,
Unless-
there was a question I wanted to ask before.
Okay, go for that- go for that.
Okay.
Well, this
So-
was going to be a 1-minute segment.
Yeah.
Do you
So-
remember your question?
Yeah.
Are you doing a 1-minute segment?
I'm
I was
I'm
referring
asking
to myself. Okay, go.
I'm asking him a question, Mr. Sugar.
Mr. Sugar.
Mr. Sugar.
Oh, so now who's calling him bad, huh? I'm not the bad guy anymore.
He's not. That's my stage name.
That's your stage
Oh,
name.
I see. Now it's okay if it's a stage
That's
name.
asshole.
So, what is your most, if you can
Oh, wait, wait.
remember, your most embarrassing moment?
Well, there was this one time I was sitting around a fire on a podcast. No. My most embarrassing moment. I don't know. I don't really get embarrassed. Is that weird?
That's what
okay,
I
okay,
said.
okay. So the dumbest thing that you've ever done.
That's a long list. You're
Excellent.
going to give me
Just
another
find
hour
the
and a half
find
cigar
the
for
find
that.
the top. Find the pick. Just pick one of the litter.
God, that's tough. I don't know. What would be the dumbest thing I've ever
No,
done?
it's a top tier dumb thing. It doesn't have to be the best.
Doesn't have to be the best. Just
Top
top tier.
tier.
First thing that
Yeah.
comes to your mind.
I'm drawing a blank right now. Give me a minute. Give me a minute.
You
Come
got a
back to
minute.
me.
You got a minute. Go
Come
ahead and
back
ask
to
your
me.
question.
Is this also a question for me? Crap.
It'll process in the background. Oh yeah, since we're paying you to be on the podcast for your sports knowledge, in 60 seconds or less, can you tell me what percentage of a bad coach can be propped up by good players? They have no strategy. They're bad in game. They recruited the wrong people, but they've got enough good players to carry enough games to make them look like a good 4-5 coach, a good 5-7, 5-3 coach, or whatever.
Well, I'll give you a good example. And Tennessee is the team I follow, so we've got a really good example of this. In 2016, the Tennessee Volunteers had an elite roster. You had Joshua Dobbs, who's right now the backup to Ben Roethlisberger at quarterback at Pittsburgh. You had Alvin Kamara, who's one of the leading running backs in the NFL. You had Jalen Hurd at running back, who's now a wide receiver for the San Francisco Giants. You had Josh Malone, who's a receiver at the Cincinnati Bengals. You had Preston Williams, although in a reserve role, I believe. He's now the leading receiver in Miami for the Dolphins. You had a ton of NFL talent. Mosley, who's with the New England Patriots. Rashawn Golden for the Panthers. I'm talking a ton of NFL talent on this roster. Should have won the SEC East that year. And that team went 9-4. Really underachieved. So they started out the season 5-0. Had wins over Florida and Georgia. Then lost to Texas A&M in a really good top 10 matchup, overtime loss. You know, one of those
yeah.
losses to a good team that's respectable. Then they got blown out of the water by Alabama, and then the wheels fell off, and you lost to a couple teams you shouldn't have in South Carolina and Vanderbilt here in Nashville.
Oh, is that the game they lost to Vanderbilt?
Yeah.
Whoa.
So that was a really, really good team.
I
with a-
I don't even follow sports, and I remember when Tennessee lost to Vanderbilt.
Well,
'cause that
they've
was
lost several times over the past few years because of poor coaches, poor administration, letting this program become what it's
And it's
become.
just kind of like Vanderbilt.
So
Nobody's gonna
you asked what percentage coach. So I'll just take that year's record. They were 8-4 or so like 75% ish.
On just a good team with a bad coach.
Right. So you're looking at good players can prop up a coach, but there's still glaring issues that can be seen to the observant sports fan. So there were issues that you could see in that year. Florida and
Like they were
Appalachian State.
Like they were winning, but it was sloppy.
Yes. So Florida and Appalachian State jumped out to leads over the Vols, and the Vols had to come back in those games, and you could tell it was the talent on the roster, not necessarily the scheme that was helping Tennessee win those games.
So you as a fan can be like, look, it wasn't the coach, it was definitely the players that carried.
Not necessarily so this goes back to like the 80-20 discussion. Not every fan's going to notice that.
No, but you.
But if you're observant and you're honest, that's another thing. A lot of fans don't want to peel behind the curtain because they want to believe their team's the best. If you look objectively at the games and you watch Texas A&M, there was 6 or 7 turnovers in that game. We should have beaten Texas A&M pretty well, even though it was a really good team that year in 2016. We should have handled them if you don't turn the ball over 7 times. And
Talk just a little louder for the mic.
Huh? Oh,
Talk a little
Just
louder
a little
for the mic.
louder. No, not in general, just because of that.
So there's red flags that you can tell when a team is poorly coached.
Some would
but
say yellow
talented.
flags.
Penalties are one of them. That's actually a good point. Stupid penalties, especially pre-snap penalties like false starts, procedural penalties like that.
So it's just like poor drilling. Of like
It's one of those things where you can tell when a team is undisciplined, and that's one of those things that truly falls back on the coaching staff.
where
right?
they just let them get away with it in practice, and they're like, "Oh, they'll be fine in game."
That's where you asked me the question earlier of could I be a coach? I will honestly say no, because I don't know how to establish good discipline in players.
Especially when they're all macho, and you're like just sitting on the side of the field.
Right. So I don't know what it takes to build that discipline, but I can recognize when it's not there.
Yeah.
And that's where you can see the talent of the players are propping up a bad coach.
So you agree that you can see quality even though you don't you can see it even though you don't necessarily know how to obtain it? You can see quality even though you don't
Sure, especially when it's not in your field of expertise.
Well, I know when my car breaks down, but I don't know how to fix it or engineer it.
Yeah, if you go through something where you repeatedly see an engine failure, you know that auto manufacturer's not got a good quality part. If your pump for your swimming pool is constantly breaking, you're constantly have to replace parts and get a technician in, that's a low quality product.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. You can tell when there's bad quality, and there's some glaring red flags. Maintenance and things like that are usually, when you're talking products, are red flags.
Do you
for
think
things like
80% of the people can see
Well,
the
I
quality
know
or
what point
20%?
you're trying to make here, but can I just point out that everyone in this room has an IQ over 100?
Okay, that's fair.
There's a lot of assumption you're making about me.
No, it's not.
No, it's not, Mr. Engineer.
You couldn't have this conversation
You couldn't.
if you had an IQ of less than 90. It would be difficult. You could not ping pong this quickly and
Yeah.
talk over
Yep.
people with an IQ. Okay, I don't want to generalize, but I'm going to generalize. People with an IQ of under 90 do not speak at this speed. They speak just a tiny bit slower.
I will say, from having a lot of experience talking in multiple avenues, multiple mediums, and things like that,
Yeah,
talking slowly and deliberately actually helps you come across as smarter.
it
And
definitely does.
Can be, because the worst thing that you can have for any public speaking in any setting is a lot of or my pet peeve is like when like somebody is like those are the kind of things that really ruin somebody who's intelligent or knowledgeable, maybe.
Yep.
Knowledgeable might be the right word.
Yeah.
They don't come across as quite so well spoken, but if you slow it down, you're not noticing how much you're slowing it down. And a person who did this really well was
Barack Obama.
Barack Obama. That was exactly where I was going. If you listen to his speeches, whether you agree with him politically or not, I know
He
we're
delivered it
dabbling into
well.
politics, he was a good public speaker.
He talks like a newscaster,
He does.
where the words are
No,
so
he talks
slow
slower
and
than a
deliberate.
newscaster.
What?
He talks much slower than a newscaster.
Okay, he does. But newscasters talk so slowly and deliberately that there's no way you can mess up. And it also communicates better, I think. To me, it's the difference between living in the woods because you have to and you can't
And
live
you
anywhere
can.
else, and you're David Wells, bleeping the name with Ash, living in the woods because
Ash,
you
Ash,
have
Ash,
chosen
Ash.
that because you could choose anything, and you choose the simple life. If you
That's true.
If you
It
talk
wasn't
slow,
David Wells. It was
If you
David
talk slow
Merkel.
deliberately,
David Merkel.
if you talk,
Oh, now I
Ash,
gotta
Ash,
bleep it
Ash.
twice.
So nice, you gotta bleep it twice.
Oh gosh.
Soundbar.
We're deleting this segment.
No, you're right. There's a difference between a deliberate approach to that and having to default to that, and that's very obvious.
Yeah.
To the casual observer, you might not be able to articulate it,
Yeah.
put it into words, but somebody can notice when you're doing it.
I
and
feel
it's
like I
not genuine.
sound elitist just saying anything about IQ, but I'm the
You do.
most, to use a Gary Vee word, I'm so bullish on people with disadvantages because if you have a disadvantage, you have a reason to try. If you grow up with a silver spoon, you have no reason to try it, which is why so many rich kids are on drugs because they have no reason to succeed and work super hard. But if you have a low IQ, if you're an idiot, if you're from a part of town that's difficult to grow up in, if you're the wrong race,
So here's an
it gives you a
interesting-
reason to succeed, and
Here's-
you're gonna succeed harder
here's
if
an-
you try.
Here's an interesting take on that silver spoon thing, because growing up, I love my parents to death, but
Your spoons were gold.
yeah, like it not only were they gold, but they were like, you're getting a gold spoon, and this is what we get out of it. Like it was so much like.
Oh, God.
Like, oh my goodness, like,
That's rough.
okay, it's basically like when it's like if I came from the ashes, everything that
Ashes.
everything that I achieved would be on my merit
and would
my
be an
ability.
achievement.
And I would get to walk around and be like, yeah, this is mine. But like when you're given $100,000 investment and you're like, I don't know what to do with this, and you waste all of it, and you're just like, well, now I'm $100,000 in the hole of investment and opportunity, and I don't break even until I overcome that 100,000. It would have been easier to start from ground zero. And I know that's really convoluted and abstract, but it was like my whole life. It was like, you know, you've been given everything, I wasn't given anything, and I was able to do X, Y, and Z, and I was like, you're right. But that like pressure is this self-invoked thing.
Some would
that's-
call it loud.
Well, so we all appreciate gaming for the three of
Yes.
us, right?
Yeah.
Everybody likes games.
Yes.
One of the most what's the word I'm looking for? One of the most not rewarding, but oh my gosh, why did I just blank on the
I
word?
have
I'm
no
looking for?
idea.
Like inspirational. One of the most
Inspirational.
inspirational stories I've seen recently came from gaming, which is a really weird. You know,
Yeah.
a lot of. I think the stigma with gaming is moving away
Mhm.
to now it's like esports is
Yeah.
truly becoming a medium. But one of the most inspirational stories I've seen recently, I just talked to you guys about this over dinner, was there's a gentleman, I don't know his name, I don't know how to look him up or I'd share it with you, but there's a gentleman who, due to hardships in his past, is a quadriplegic. He had a accident. It wasn't anything he was born with. He had an accident, lost all of his limbs, all four of them, and he had a choice to make of either letting that define him or overcoming it and finding something where he could be unique and inspirational.
Yeah.
And he had a personalized system developed where he can play games with two
I love that guy.
joysticks using.
I forgot his name already, but
I know who you're talking about.
I know who you're talking about.
And
He's
and
amazing.
I think Microsoft worked on that system for him.
oh, I'm sure.
Like they worked with him to program that because it was so difficult to develop.
Yeah.
And they're like, and we can do a great thing for the community for
Yeah.
the
Hold on.
thousands.
I feel disrespectful not knowing.
Well,
his
you
name.
look it up. I'll finish the story.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish the story.
So, basically, in essence, they created a customized controller
Yeah.
to where he can use his appendages that he has remaining to control a couple of large joysticks, and he has a customized mouthpiece that has holes where, based on which one he blocks and which one he blows into, and how he moves his tongue and things like that, controls the game, and he is probably in the top half of players of Call of Duty in the world.
Yeah.
Not necessarily.
Is this the guy you're
top
talking about?
tier.
Because I'm thinking of somebody else. Apparently, there's more than one guy.
No, that's not what I'm thinking of.
Okay.
That's
So
crazy.
That's interesting.
There's more than one.
So it shows that, like what you talked about,
For context, I am in the bottom half.
I probably am too. I am a recreational gamer and nothing
But
more.
you're recreational with all your limbs, and you're still bad.
Yeah, and this guy is impressive. He has really overcome to, find something he's good at and provide meaning and inspiration through games. And I thought it was fascinating to see. Snapchat was where I think I saw it, and he can beat most gamers, a majority of gamers,
Yeah.
even with his disabilities, to overcome those and be better at something that a lot of people enjoy.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's really cool.
That's crazy.
Okay, well now I can't. Now I feel like I can't really name names because
There's
way-
several of them.
There's several of them, so I don't even want to just call a single person
Okay.
out just because I saw him first. But yeah, there's more than one guy who are doing that, and I think each one of them are phenomenal.
Yep. Which is, I think, why Microsoft had that project.
And if you ever want to be a guest on the Burning Ash, Grabbing Ash podcast,
More than welcome.
Slapping Ash podcast,
just
that
to
might
hear your
be
story.
the biggest guest that you guys have ever had.
We're just renaming it the
Slapping
No,
Ash.
no, no,
Slapping
Sugar.
Ash.
I
No,
know, Mr. Sugar.
Mr. Sugar.
You are the biggest.
the Hot Ash podcast.
Hot Ash podcast.
That was a good one. I like that.
It's a good segment. Wait. What time is it?
All right, it's 10:30.
10:30.
What the frick?
Yeah.
That went quick.
Yep.
That was another 40 minutes on 20-minute cigars that
Yep.
have no suction.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, that was, I think, episode 107.
Whatever it was a good.
It was a good
episode.
Ash podcast. It was a hot Ash.
I appreciate you guys letting me tag along. This is fun. This is my
You
first
got
ever
it.
podcast.
We're
so
gonna sit here and do it anyway.
That's right. Might as well
No.
give people what
We
they want.
went out of our way.
We went out of our
to
way.
make this happen.
You're
and
welcome.
I appreciate
It was a
your
privilege.
appreciation.
Absolutely. I mean, I drove the long journey down I-40 to be here because it meant so much to me. So.
That's right. That is
I'm
right.
not gonna lie. I really, I know we joke around a little bit, but I really genuinely have watched some of y'all's clip stuff, and I was like, this is kind of cool. I would enjoy just chatting with these guys over cigars and over bourbon.
Well,
So
normally
it's kinda fun.
when a guest comes on your podcast, you say thanks for coming on, but I'm gonna say you're welcome. It was good for you to be here.
I enjoyed it.
It was almost as good to have you.
Thanks. I
So
think
much roast.
I think I'll go order the pizza after this. All right.
Excellent. Well, not only do I rip on our fans, really,
Now you rip on your guests.
I rip on our guests.
I take it back. If you're the gentleman who's inspired me and inspirational and overcoming, don't come on this podcast because this guy's just gonna rip you.
I will be respectful. If you have no arms,
All right,
You've got all your arms.
that
What have
you-
you? What
yeah,
have
what
you
have you
achieved?
done of this work?
You might want to clip that out.
No, we're keeping that.
There goes the rest of your viewers.
Yeah, and to all our viewers who have arms, what are you doing with your life, you idiots?
I take it back. It was not nice to be on
Only
this podcast.
on this podcast can you rip on your fans and have them still not watch you.
Still not watch. Yeah, you're.
We've got 100 fans. We gotta do some more ripping.
I was about to say,
We gotta go. We gotta go
you
hard.
You say fans like you're confident there's multiple of them. So is it sacrilege
No.
to
You're good.
just?
Actually, the highest end cigar connoisseurs don't finish the last third.
Really?
Yeah, because
That's the
I
thing.
think that
Okay,
it's
so-
a real thing.
sounds wrong.
No, it's not wrong.
Interesting.
1/3, the last 1/3, because
But every
the
third
tip-
has a
the
different
last
flavor.
third has too much to build up.
Yeah, we'll
It's-
walk and talk. Walk and talk.
Anyway,
To it.
you guys
We should have stopped 8.5 seconds ago before you came out.
Then you would have looked like you did it on purpose.
We were trying to. I tried to end the podcast 4 minutes ago.